Having discovered from Anakin's mother Shmi Skywalker that there was no father involved in the birth of the future Jedi Knight, Qui-Gon immediately took this as significant evidence that the boy was the prophesized chosen one, the one to destroy the Sith and bring balance to the Force. However, what Qui-Gon didn't know, nor any other Jedi for that matter, was that the catalyst for the creation of Anakin was the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Plagueis. And while one may look at the events and conclude that Plagueis was Anakin's true father, we'll see that the Sith Lord was actually an indirect actor in Anakin's birth, with the Force itself playing the most significant role in the creation of Anakin's life. In this video expose, I will explain everything Darth Plagueis did that resulted in the birth of Anakin Skywalker. Roughly 10 years before the Naboo crisis and the events of the Phantom Menace, as Plagueis recognized the growing influence of the dark side within the galaxy and the waning power of the light, Plagueis set out with his apprentice Darth Sidious to decisively will the Force to shift to the dark side. Plagueis sought not an insignificant paradigm shift in the Force, but a monumental and real alteration that was strong enough to be felt by anyone who was Force sensitive, including the Jedi. The shift in the balance of the Force towards darkness, which would be manifested by the Sith Lords, was the result of intense meditation that continued for months. In many ways, Plagueis and Sidious engaged in all-out war against the Force, challenging it for dominance and sovereignty, wherein they used the power of the dark side to bend the Force to their will. Plagueis engaged in the act, knowing that he was putting himself and his apprentice in harm's way, threatening the Sith Grand Plan, as he anticipated that the Force would not only shun their efforts, but fight back through their own midichlorians. Nonetheless, the Force did not fight back, as the two Sith Lords were able to bring their power to bear upon the Force, successfully asserting their supremacy over it. It was something that could be felt by both Plagueis and Sidious. The Force had yielded to their efforts. The scales had noticeably been tipped, with the light having decreased and there being a clear ascension of the dark. Throughout the galaxy, the Force had been altered in favor of the dark side. But rather than satiating Plagueis, accepting the victory, and ceasing his interventions in the Force's cosmic makeup, Plagueis was only beginning. On the same day that he and Sidious tipped the balance in favor of the dark side, the Dark Lord of the Sith approached his longtime prisoner Darth Venomous, the Sith apprentice Plagueis' master trained as a contingency in case Plagueis proved unsuccessful. Plagueis then began manipulating Venomous' midichlorians, whereby he caused his prisoner to die, but then resurrected him over and over again, until Venomous' organs finally gave out, resulting in one final everlasting death. Stunning Sidious into silence, the day's events demonstrated just how powerful Plagueis had become. When his apprentice finally returned to Coruscant in furtherance of the Sith Grand Plan for galactic dominance, Plagueis then turned these abilities inward. Over the course of several months, he began manipulating his own midichlorians to completely rejuvenate his entire body, undoing and reversing years of natural aging and healing tissues that had been damaged in a failed assassination attempt on his life years earlier. But tipping the balance to the dark side and achieving the ability to bring others back from the dead wasn't enough for the Sith Lord, nor was he content with merely healing his wounds. The previous successes resulted in Plagueis becoming drunk on his newfound powers, pushing him to perform a further feat that had previously been unimaginable: to use the Force to bring a being of his own into creation. The ability to dominate death had certainly been a great success, but it paled in comparison to the idea of literally creating a new being. And thus, Plagueis set out to do just that. But Plagueis didn't intend to bring any mere sentient into being. Rather, he sought to create a being strong and powerful in the Force. Stretching out with the Force, Plagueis sought to inform every being that existed within the galaxy of his presence, impacting all of them regardless of their origin and position in the galaxy. Again, Plagueis engaged in war against the Force, but this time, the Force won and Plagueis was defeated. Not only could Plagueis feel that he was unsuccessful in the creation of new life, but he distinctly felt the Force grow silent, fleeing from him as if he were a being that needed to be avoided. Despite the setback, knowing that he hadn't manifested a forceful being into existence, Plagueis was nonetheless convinced that he and Sidious were on the verge of greatness. He was certain that not only would the Sith come to destroy the Republican Jedi, but he and his apprentice would one day learn to keep each other alive forever, conquering death and achieving immortality. However, although he was undeterred by his failure, another feeling was inescapable for Plagueis. And having felt the Force in retreat as a result of his efforts, he wondered what consequences he would face for his actions, in both willfully tipping the balance to the dark side and attempting the unthinkable act of creating life. And Plagueis was correct, as he and Sidious would ultimately come to recognize the retribution of the Force through the manifestation of Anakin Skywalker. Upon first discovering the existence of the boy through Dooku, who informed Sidious of Qui-Gon's belief that a boy who'd been birthed without a father and whose midichlorian count tested exceptionally high, Sidious accepted the boy may indeed be the prophesied chosen one. When Sidious informed Plagueis of this boy, the Dark Lord of the Sith immediately sought him out, needing to sense Anakin for himself. But having been too late, missing Anakin before he returned to Naboo, Plagueis was left to ponder if he'd stepped too far, and undone the efforts of the Sith by indirectly creating a being who would fulfill the prophecy to destroy them. So there we have it, everything Plagueis did that resulted in the creation of Anakin Skywalker. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive hangouts and book discussions. If not for me, for the chosen one.